Everyone, welcome all to the public hearing on the budget. It is great to see democracy at work and you taking your time out to come here and give us your input. Believe me when I say it is valued. In accordance with the Virginia Beach Code 2-21 and by the authority vested in me and the mayor of Virginia Beach, I hereby call a special formal session of the Virginia Beach City Council on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6 p.m., Virginia Beach Convention Center, 1019th Street, Ballroom 1. The purpose of this special session is to conduct a public hearing to obtain public input regarding, first, the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budget and capital improvement program, and two, the proposed increase in the real estate tax rate, and number three, the authorization of $69,104,404 in general obligation bonds, and next, the authorization of $222,597,430 in water and sewer utility revenue bonds, authorization of $2,177,367 stored water utility revenue bonds, and an increase in planning fees. In lieu of appearing at the public hearing, you wish to make comments, please follow the following procedures. Register at WebEx at vbgov.webex.com and register with the City Clerk's office by calling 757-385-4303 prior to 5 p.m. on April 20th, 2022. This special forum session will be streamed live on vbgov.com media and Facebook Live. Citizens are encouraged to submit their comments to the City Council prior to the special formal session via email at citycouncil@vbgov.com. Sincerely, Bobby Dyer, the mayor. And before we get going, I just want to go ahead and read a clarification of a story that got out to make sure that we're on the same track and we start off on a positive way. If you've been following our monthly nostalgic VB series about the history of Virginia Beach, you can see the oceanfront has been an iconic and defining jewel of Virginia Beach for decades. Our goal, Council's goal, is that it continues to be a place of our residents and visitors alike to enjoy for decades more to come. And that's why the Site Acquisition Fund is so important for us to talk about right here tonight. Over the years, we've heard many demands for services and needs within the resort area, which include, but not limited to, parking and the preservation of open space. For example, recently City Council took action to purchase a parcel of land on Virginia Beach Boulevard with the intent to develop a BMP to mitigate flooding concerns. The flooding mechanism for this was primarily through local funding, only made available through federal stimulus funds. At that time, it was expressed by members of City Council that a set aside of resources should be available for future use as strategic site acquisition opportunities if they occur quickly, and City Council should be able to act when these opportunities arise. This site acquisition project and these funds provide City Council with the opportunity. This need is not only understood by City Council, but also the resort community. Mid-March, I received a letter from stakeholders outlining a list of priorities to be supported through the TIP Fund. Included within that list of projects was a request for $45 million for a resort area acquisition site fund. The project and others put forward in that letter were requested to be supported long-term through the extension of TIP fund dedications. Again, purchases can be used to preserve open space address parking needs, or for other initiatives to enhance oceanfront safety and security. Whether this be the acquisition of the 17th Street, which the city currently leases and does not own, or another property, all of opportunities can and will be considered. If approved, funds will be appropriated but not immediately be obligated. Public input will be key on any project. We want to continue to make the oceanfront a great experience for the residents and visitors, and I welcome the public's feedback. And if I could just say, one other thing before we get going, and we just needed a clarification on some, things. This is going to be a tough budget cycle for everybody. We're right in the middle of inflation and challenging economic times. But I just want you to think about what we have been through as a city, not only the council, but you as the public over the last couple of years. When we were in total lockdown a couple of years ago, we got our beaches open. And I believe we were the only beaches open in the country. Now, it was a good thing, but once again, a lot of businesses, but a lot of families were able to come to Virginia Beach to find respite. We were there, we managed through probably the toughest year. And then last year, in spite of everything, from what I understand, our oceanfront, you realized the value of it, came back and was a site for many people to come. And, we had, from what I understand, one of the best years we ever had in spite of the adversity we had. And I really think that the oceanfront is, let me put it this way, it's part of the DNA of the beach. But we are striving as a council to make sure that we make it open and welcome to everybody, including the citizens of Virginia Beach. We want it to be your beach. And as we go through the tough time right now, we have to find the balance to get through. We're going to go through some tough times, but something, we're going to do it together, and your voice will be heard. But I just wanted to go ahead and make a statement to, clear up a few of the clarifications going. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and just welcome your comment, and thank you all for taking your time to be with us today.
You want to remind everybody 3 minutes.
Okay, and just a reminder, we're going to be, you'll have 3 minutes to come up that you want to say, but once again, we're here to listen. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. The first speaker is Barbara Messner. After Ms. Messner is Rona Marsh.
Good evening again. A lot of people at the council meeting last night didn't even know there was a budget hearing. Okay, I oppose all debt, and everyone needs to know that there's a conflict of interest law, and anyone who has, and John Moss, I wrote down the notes from when you and Bobby Dyer brought it up in 2014, and there was no one seconding it twice. Avoid even the appearance of conflict of interest for a deposit or investment of money in taxpayer money in financial institutions. The policy May 28, 1996, and updated February 2014. And no investment tied to any sitting member of council or their family members, Virginia Code 2.2-3101, November 19, 2014. We need to cut the top salaries. No one should make $300,000, $200,000 plus bonuses. We have over $3 billion debt, and you want to add more debt. This is 2018. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I signed up in March, and The Economic Development Authority, which I mentioned in 2018, needs to be abolished. We're paying for their rent, their travel globally, and Mr. Jones and Ms. Wilson, and you honored Dot Wood last night. You know, there's major conflicts with finance, and that needs to be exposed. We need someone, I don't know where the auditor has been lately, but we need someone to look into all this. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rona Marsh, and then Don Heumann.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer and council members. Yes, the $45 million site acquisition at the resort is the topic. It's very disappointing, Mr. Dyer, to hear you say you're our mayor and you got a letter in mid-March and you didn't bother to share that with us citizens. We're the taxpayers and we're not hearing about it. Maybe Mr. Branch knew about it because he's on the RAC and he's involved with the RASP. Maybe people at the oceanfront, at the resort knew about it, but taxpayers in the rest of the city didn't. And we're picking up the tab. What I'm most concerned about is the fact that Mr. Dehaney has put forth a budget that appears it will exceed the net debt per capita in the out years. We're going to raise our borrowing by putting all this additional money on us for the resort for items that none of us even know what they are about. And you've had this budget out for weeks. Kevin Chatelier spoke to us at a meeting. He wouldn't tell us what it's about. So finally, you're going to tell us what you're going to give us the tab for. I feel like it's a case of the resort, RAC, and RASP, and Mr. Branch all going somewhere, running up a big bill, and then getting up and walking away and leaving us taxpayers the tab. You know, eat and run. I don't know what you want to call it, but I still don't know what it's going to involve. And $45 million is a significant amount of money. And to indebt us for 20 years, you should have put this out sooner. And it looks like it's all planned for this year. So if it's all parking, you should have told us sooner. But I don't think it's all parking. I think you guys have had this plan for a long time, and you're keeping us in the dark. It's not transparent. I have 70 people's signatures here who signed on Saturday a week ago who want a 0.91 revenue neutral tax for their property. They don't want to be burdened with more taxes by the city. They also said remove the $45 million for the CIP for resort acquisition at the oceanfront or the resort. They don't want it. You haven't told us about it. You're telling us at the end of the day, you're giving us the bill, and we're already paying more in meal tax than most other cities in the country. Every time someone goes and gets prepared food, the money goes right to the resort. We need to seriously look at making the resort a separate SSD, and they can spend whatever they want. But to tax all the rest of us forever into perpetuity for meals, for hotels, for everything in the other 8 districts, tax your districts, not our districts. Give us a break. We paid for 30 years, and we paid over $1.15 billion in taxes for tourism and the resort, and it's more than enough. We're not getting a return on investment. Thank you.
Next speaker.
And before the next speaker, if I could just take a minute, Mr. Moss, you have a statement.
Yes, by state law, I have to disclose, and a letter is on file with the city clerk, that my wife is a school teacher, but I can assure you that that will not influence my decision on this budget.
Thank you, sir. We're ready for the next speaker.
Next speaker is Don Heumann, and then Kathleen Brown.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, and members of City Council. My name is Dawn Heumann. I am a high school math teacher, secretary of Virginia Beach Education Association, and resident of Virginia Beach. I come this evening to ask you to honor the revenue sharing policy you have with the school division. Please appropriate the $22 million to schools so we can continue the work of educating the children of Virginia Beach. Many of you cited education as a priority when you were running for office. It is time to prove that and vote yes to the revenue sharing policy. The children of Virginia Beach deserve a quality education. An investment in education and in our children is an investment in the future. Families choose to make Virginia Beach their home because the schools are top-notch. Visit the VB Schools website and you will see a long list of accolades. All of our schools are accredited, and annually our students earn millions of dollars in scholarships. Our division has been recognized for the diversity and number of students who take AP placement courses and AP exams, and we exceed the state graduation rate, boasting a 93.9% on-time rate. Citizens of Virginia Beach need to realize that schools like this do not exist everywhere, and that our students enjoy certain advantages that other districts in our state do not enjoy. We have been a one-to-one school division for quite a while, which made us able to pivot to emergency learning quite quickly and effectively. Specialty high school academies, a gifted elementary and middle school like Old Donation, transportation to academies, and activity buses for extracurricular activities are not the norm in other divisions. All this costs money and requires staffing. Our students, our future, are worth more than $22 million. Our students deserve smaller class sizes so their educational and social emotional needs are met more quickly. Our students deserve to have transportation that gets them to school on time instead of being late every day because the bus driver had to make a second run. Our students deserve to have access to math coaches, literacy coaches, librarians, and gifted teachers who this year have spent too many days serving as substitutes. Our students deserve to have certified, qualified, professional educators teaching every class. At one point this year, there were 9 high school math teacher openings. That is 1,350 students who were not being taught by a qualified math teacher. Currently, there are 4 high school math openings and 4 high school science teacher openings. Students deserve teachers who are excited about being in the classroom, not teachers who are tired because they work a second job to be able to afford to live where they work. The working conditions of school employees are the learning conditions of our students. It is time for this entire city to prioritize education. It's time for the city to fund education, and this starts with honoring the revenue sharing policy and appropriating $22 million. Virginia Beach has seen the exodus of the Patriotic Festival, the Rock and Roll Half Marathon, and Something in the Water. Soon it will see the exodus of school employees and then families choosing to live where education is valued and funded. I believe the children of Virginia Beach deserve to be a priority, and I hope the City Council agrees.
The next speaker is Kathleen Slindy, and then Elizabeth Mills.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, and the members of the City Council. My name is Kathleen Slindy. I'm the Virginia Beach Education Association president, a teacher, and a resident of Virginia Beach. I'm asking you to honor the revenue sharing formula and allocate all the funds indicated for schools under that agreement. Yesterday, Dr. Spence and his staff presented the school system's budget. They made it clear this budget prioritizes their employee compensation so that VVCPS can compete with surrounding school divisions to attract and retain educators and education support professionals in the coming school year. It is a fact that school employees are experiencing what everyone else is experiencing in this economy. They are well aware of the opportunities for moving to better paying districts or switching out of education altogether into positions with less stress, less public criticism, and no weeknight and weekend grading and planning. The possibility for a better work-life balance is enticing. Just because educators love their students and their profession doesn't mean that they will continue to sacrifice their own personal well-being and that of their family to remain working in Virginia Beach when there are opportunities to thrive working somewhere else close by. The shortage of qualified candidates left us with over 100 unfilled positions this year. This fall, unfilled positions in VVCPS will mean larger class sizes for students with less one-on-one teaching. It will mean a loss of learning time as buses make double and triple runs to transport students to school. It will mean fewer clubs and tutoring after school, as educators with larger classes and caseloads will be less likely to sponsor them. The school system's budget must provide for excellent learning opportunities for students, meet SOQ requirements, and attract new employees and retain experienced ones. This is vitally important for public education. You have suggested moving money around and postponing CIP plans. Our COVID experience made it clear healthy, safe working environments and learning environments are necessary to keep our schools open. Given the choice of healthy, safe schools, fully staffed and open for face-to-face learning every day, of having opportunities for enrichment through sports and clubs, and all the other services provided by educators to students and their families, or getting a one-time tax refund, is one that I believe most parents and citizens would choose to provide what is best for students. Allocate the additional revenue funds, and the VPCBS school can compete with local divisions for the limited qualified applicants and retain employees so schools can be fully staffed and continue helping students excel. The partnership between the city and the school division is one of our strengths of our Virginia Beach community. Our schools and our city are recognized with many accolades and honors each year. Honoring the revenue sharing formula so we have fully staffed schools will be a win-win for all the citizens of Virginia Beach because you cannot build a world-class education system or city without bold leadership that prioritizes the people that make it happen. Thank you.
The next speaker is Elizabeth Mills. After Ms. Mills is David Grotmall.
Good evening. I am the Vice President of the CTAC Community Civic League, but tonight I come to you as a resident of CTAC. I was born and raised in CTAC, and I have never been so disappointed in a budget in all my life. Let me just say we get proposal after proposal after proposal, and no funding for the Joseph V. Grimsett Recreation Center. So I am calling on all the churches, organizations, residents, senior citizens, and youth to join with the CTAC Civic League to do our own fundraiser. We will have the information on our website, ctaccivic.org, and we will have it on our Facebook. I am also disappointed that we can never get support. We don't understand what's going on. So I am asking CTACians, stand, and I'm asking CTACians all over the United States and territories, and I'm also asking for CTACians all over the world. We need to do our own fundraiser because we can't seem to get support. April 19th was 25 years of the Joseph V. Grimsett Recreation Center, and nothing has been done. I don't know about you, but I'm hoping, but I don't think I have another 25 years. So if we don't do something now, we'll never be able to say we did the best job we could in CTAC. So we are saying, save our rec, save our kids, save our rec, save our kids. Thank you.
The next speaker is David Grotmall, and then Laura Haber.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm David Grotmall, and I'm proud to follow Ms. Mills and talk to you about the CIP and the CTAC Rec Center. I began working with the CTAC Civic League about 6 months ago to help them guide them through the CIP process this year. I've done some research. You probably know that the CTAC Rec Center is the smallest of all the rec centers by a huge margin. The Kempsville Rec Center is 87,000 square feet. Bayside, Great Neck, Princess Anne are 83,000 square feet. Williams Farm is 70,000. Bow Creek is 67,000 square feet. And little old CTAC is 22,000 square feet. That's right. 25 years ago, when you were building Bayside, Great Neck, and Princess Anne, you decided to build CTAC because the residents got up in arms and demanded that you build one in a black community. And you decided to do that. But you, not you, but the city council at the time, I guess you felt you were doing the best you could, but you just threw them a bone and built a small rec center to replace a couple of small buildings that they had. But today, that rec center is just not good enough. The only big room they have is a gymnasium, and every time they want to do something else to accommodate another large group, they have to put it in the gymnasium. So they have to stop whatever classes they have in the gymnasium, whatever rec leagues they have, whatever other schedules for games in the gymnasium have to stop so they can put other things in there. So I'm asking you, please consider putting in the CIP a phased approach to expanding the SeaTac Rec Center. You can start now with putting in enough money for design and land acquisition, then phase it out over the next 2 or 3 years for construction. Get them a larger size facility, at least up to the 80,000 square feet.
Mayor, that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
The next speaker is Laura Haber, and after Ms. Haber will be Gary Ryan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager Duhaney, City Clerk team. My name is Laura Wood Huber. I am the co-founder of the Vibe Creative District and the Old Beach Farmers Market. We are here tonight with friends and supporters, which I would like to ask to stand and hold your signs. Thank you. So it was about 2 decades ago, almost 20 years ago. It was April 2005. I came before City Council in a first budget meeting to ask that the sidewalk in front of our family's restaurant here on 19th Street, just a block up the street, could get a repair in the sidewalk. Well, I went around to all the businesses. I even got the mailman to sign a petition to say, yeah, we'd like a sidewalk. And it was really the city leadership at the time and the council, several of you were on the council then, that said you wanted to connect this convention center, which, by the way, is SeaTac proper. This is the neighborhood of SeaTac. And you wanted to connect it to the ocean front. And you wanted an entertainment district. Well, so a couple years later, in 2008, I had restaurant customers that told me they didn't want to come to our restaurant. The neighborhood wasn't safe. So I looked up the crime report and I connected all the dots and I went to a RAC meeting and I showed it to RAC commissioners. I said, what is going on? You want this to be a vibrant community and you've got a crime report? What's going on? What are we missing? So I started the Old Beach Farmers Market with my mom and some friends. Well, that grew the customer base and civic activity that was family-friendly as a community building tool. That effort grew and evolved into an art and eco market. And in a conversation over the need for parking, it's when I met Andrew Fine, a local landowner with a legacy of philanthropic efforts supporting the arts and our environment. So over the course of several more years, Andrew and I worked with the city manager then, Jim Spohr, city attorneys, numerous council members, the Cultural Affairs Office, the Planning Department, and dozens of local property owners right here in this unknown neighborhood that was SeaTac proper, to craft a city ordinance that took 2 years and 21 drafts to start to develop what a creative industry was and who creatives were. I had to research the definitions and try to advocate for culinary arts. So we formally established boundaries and incentives to drive economic revitalization. This wasn't an accident, it was on purpose. So in 2015, we came before City Council, again, as a large group of creatives and entrepreneurs
Mayor,
to
that's
celebrate
time.
the approval of our district. So I'm here before tonight to ask you to please continue to fund the Vibe Creative District.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Gary Ryan, and then Scott Duncan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. I'm stepping away from the opening to our members of the opening of the show Maya Lin, which last year you so generously funded with an incremental amount so that we could bring one of the world's most foremost artists to Virginia Beach and her work here. So we're so excited, and thank you so much for that. I just wanted to, in concert with Laura, I was reading through the budget, and there was a comment in the opening on page 3 of the budget, which talks about, and I quote, "This plan focuses the collective efforts of city staff on city council's priorities and those strategic issues that will help close the gap between where the city is today and the community that it strives to become." So I guess my question is, what are we striving to become? And I look at the budget, and one of the things that's really distressing to me as a leader in the arts in the arts world is that cultural affairs funding was cut by 11% year over year. And we now have less than $7 per capita being spent on arts. And it is across the country, art, the making of, the experiencing of, the discussion of, has been proven time and time again across the country and to great acclaim to make a difference in the intangibles of civic life as well as the tangibles of economic life. Vibrant, dynamic cities that attract tourists, employers, and residents alike use art as a key method to do so. And why? It's because that investment in art unlocks a passion and a participation that is an investment multiplier. The Vibe itself has generated $45 million in incremental tax revenue as a result of the valuation of the property and how it's gone up. I'm not sure how to make the case. Art is vital to our community, and it provides a way for us, so many of us who have so many differences, to come together and try to find how we're more similar and distinguish the beach in a way that is unique and compelling, and where tourists and residents alike are proud and want to come here because of the artistic offerings. In particular, part of what's driving the cultural affairs decrease is the fact that $300,000 was cut out of the request for Virginia MoCA this year. That is the primary driver of the decrease. And I would really hope that upon reconsideration of this year's budget, that you would look at the fact that we want to augment the Boardwalk Art Show, bring the work of Kara Walker, one of the most preeminent African-American artists in the country, as well as continue to support the advertising and promotion of the Maya Lin exhibition that's opening up to the public tomorrow, a compelling investment. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Scott Duncan, and then Kate Pittman.
The MoCA parade continues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council people, for having me here. I'm Scott Duncan. I'm here both as a citizen of this community and also as a member of the MoCA board. First, I just want to start with thanking you for your leadership. I think you alluded to this, Mr. Mayor, in your opening comments. It's not easy to put together a budget for this city in such challenging times. And so we appreciate you hearing from us to help influence that as you go through this process. I also want to thank you specifically for your leadership during the pandemic. Those were unprecedented, challenging times, and you guided the city through some very difficult period, and also specifically, you really guided and helped MoCA stay afloat. The museum would not have survived without the increased support of the city during the pandemic, and I know I speak for everybody on the board here and everybody in this community how grateful we are for that, and my ask to you today is to consider to continue that support and continue to increase it for the same reasons you did during the pandemic. This city is better for having MoCA as part of it. You're going to hear from other speakers who will say it more eloquently than me. The arts matter both for the cultural fabric of the community, for the experience of all of us who live here. It matters for the experience of those who visit here, and it's also good business. We will be coming to you with some more information, some more data. I won't do a lot of statistics here, but we'll continue to bring you some of that to demonstrate what we think we're adding through the arts generally and through MoCA specifically to both the kind of culture of the city, but also also as an ROI to your investment and to the economic health of this city. I'll give you just a couple very quickly. We've almost tripled our visitorship to the museum, even during a period when we had restrictions on visitors, because the art we're doing is compelling, and because I think people coming out of this pandemic want to connect on a human level even more than ever before. We're also more than half of those visitors, of those more than 3 times the visitors in the past, more than half of them come from outside of Virginia Beach. So I think that's good for the community economically, good for the profile of this community. I know many of you understand what I'm saying. We really appreciate the support you've given us. We're going to continue to advocate on our behalf. The current proposed budget underfunds the arts generally and underfunds MoCA specifically, and we're going to need your help to amend that as we go forward so we can continue to bring to this community the great value that we've offered before. I thank you for your interest in this. I thank you for continuing the conversation with us. It's important to this city. We want to do our part to partner with you to make this city a better place and to draw even more visitors here. I thank you very, very much. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kate Pittman. After Ms. Pittman will be Kathleen Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm bringing with you today some positive vibes. I am the Executive Director of the Vibe Creative District. My name is Kate Pittman, and formerly I had the pleasure of being the Director of Operations at MoCA. We are a family, and we are here to represent the arts in Virginia Beach. I had the pleasure of spearheading the museum's national accreditation process when I was there. And since moving here in 2005, I have worked with over 100 city staff in various departments, many council members, and different city leadership teams to positively advocate for the arts and their economically driven success. Since 2016, I've had the pleasure of leading the city's first arts district. This is not new. There are hundreds of arts districts all over the country, but it was new to Virginia Beach. And now we have a successful arts district that is proving to bring in revenue to the city of Virginia Beach. It is documented in our nationwide and international press, in our mention in Jeopardy!, in the Commissioner of the Revenue's increased tax income reports, in the significant increase in real estate values, and the high number of both businesses and residents who are moving to be closer to the Vibe District, and also the nearly 400,000 virtual views of our Google map that document all of the art in this Central Beach district. We are where people come to celebrate an authentic Virginia Beach experience, and we are so proud to be here. Our nonprofit is a vocal cheerleader for the city of Virginia Beach. We are the tour guides, the urban garden planners, the business community connectors, the bridge between city staff and the private sector interests here in the Central Beach Resort, and I'm lucky. Every day, people tell me how much they value the city of Virginia Beach and the arts. We are not here as a single neighborhood. We represent and partner with organizations and businesses all over the city of Virginia Beach in all of your districts. We have worked with the rec centers, with the libraries, with dozens of our local schools, and community and business leaders all over the city. We have over 35 community partners to bring year-round entertainment and programming here to the city of Virginia Beach that is available free to all people at all times. And now we are here to be the connectors between the Atlantic Avenue, the Convention Center, and the new Sports Center. This is a successful partnership. Thank you for what you have done to support this effort. We have more to do and to accomplish together. We are asking that you support both Vibe and MoCA in this reconciliation process to add back in that funding that was taken out. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Kathleen Brown. After Ms. Brown is Eric Ellerbee.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, and members of council. My name is Kathleen Brown, and I come to you tonight as a resident of Virginia Beach with 4 children. I don't think I need to break down the inflation situation for you all to understand what the taxpayers are experiencing in Virginia Beach, because you all are also experiencing the same inflationary issues we are. So I am astonished by the proposal to significantly increase the taxes at a time when residents are struggling so much. Based on new data, 64% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and 22% cannot afford to pay their bills each month. I understand the need to progress and move forward as a city, but I'm not sure that the time right now to increase the budget. Today, I ask you to make the same difficult decisions that families are making in their own homes and analyze the wants and needs of this city and see where you can cut back. I've had the opportunity to meet many residents and families in our community because I'm running for school board. I am told many are struggling. When families in Virginia Beach are struggling financially, this negatively impacts the children in our community. Parents are forced to reduce activities and are working more hours to keep their heads above water. I'm told because of this, parents are unable to spend as much quality time with their kids, and quality of care becomes less of a priority when they're just trying to make ends meet. Based upon your current proposal, my personal real estate taxes will increase about $450 this year. I like to include these numbers so the public watching knows exactly how much money is at stake. Now, I want to discuss the school board's budget presentation yesterday at the informal meeting because they get a significant portion of our revenues in the city. Aaron Spence, our school superintendent, states, and I quote, "We have to figure out how to grow more revenue for all of us," end quote. The revenue Aaron Spence is speaking of is money straight out of taxpayers' pockets. I do not believe our school board majority has proper oversight of our tax dollars, and I really wish that there was a way you guys could help ensure that they did. Recently, Superintendent Spence recommended $3.5 million of reversion funds be utilized for AstroTurf at 2 schools. Do you think AstroTurf reflects an educational need? I don't. On a final note, I want to leave you with a question. Are you okay with the citizens of Virginia Beach just being okay and getting by, or do you want them to have the opportunity to flourish in our city? Thank you.
The next speaker is Eric Ellerbee, and then Zachary Howard.
Good evening. My name is Eric Ellerbee. I work for the city in the Department of Public Works as a maintenance worker in street maintenance. I am speaking tonight in support of the Virginia Beach Workers Union, UE Local 111, proposals for raises for city employees, including a step pay plan that recognizes our years of service, a reclassification of all job titles more than 5% below the market average, and also to raise the floor wage up to $15 per hour. For 9 years, I worked in the city of Virginia Beach, and we went through various neighborhoods and doing vital work. That is very hard work. Our elements to repair the city streets. Yet, even with my skills and experience, I still make under $15 an hour. The homeowners, they always give us praise. Great job, great job, great job. You guys deserve more. They appreciate our work and realize that we're not getting paid enough. Now, on this evening, it's time for the city to show their appreciation and move forward with the step pay plan, the regrade, and raise the floor plan up to $15 an hour. We deserve it. In my 9 years of working, I've heard a lot of conversation with different workers. And trust me, it hasn't been good. They want to raise it up. We want more. Trust me, tonight it wasn't pleasing to hear that. But on this evening, we're standing in unity for change. Our actions in this evening are standing with our words. Step pay plan, regard, regrade, raise the floor plan for the city workers of $15 an hour. We really need a serious raise this year. I hope the city will take the recommendation for a step pay plan that recognizes years of service and regrade to heart. Street maintenance workers, even at our midpoint, which you know most of us don't even make more than $32,240,000. When looking at other cities like Raleigh, which makes $42,000, or Charlotte that makes $48,886,000, we definitely need a regrade. According to the union's market analysis, the midpoint for a maintenance worker is currently $9,991 below market average. That is over 30% over our salary. So according to Siegel's recommendation, that suggests we move up a grade for every 5% we are below market. That means we should move up 6 grades from a G10 to G16. I have one question for the council to ponder. How is it that 74% of us general employees are still below our salary range midpoint, even though nearly half of us have over 10 years of service experience out here?
Mayor, that's time. So- The next speaker is Zachary Howard. The next speaker is Zachary Howard, and then Valerie Hodges. Mr. Howard? Is there a Valerie Hodges? There she comes. And then it'll be Terry Green.
Hello. To the mayor, city manager, and distinguished members of the city council, good evening. My name is Valerie Hodges. I'm one of the many brave employees who works for the City of Virginia Beach Human Services Department. We need a real raise and a step pay plan that recognizes our years of services. It is hard for us to be present and do our best when we're stressed due to not making a living wage or overwork because we are dependent on overtime. Healthcare workers are heroes who deserve to be compensated for the level of care and expertise we bring to the city. We would like a step pay plan that will recognize our years of service and dedication to the city, along with providing a progressive pay scale that accounts for the cost of living adjustments. To be competitive, a plan to regrade positions based on the market will alleviate the attrition of vital city employees and is the key to building a strong workforce. Lastly, raising the floor of minimum hourly wage just makes sense. A recent survey of 9 cities by the Wage Market Study showed that Virginia Beach was one of the only 2 other cities that do not pay a minimum wage of $15 per hour, which is increasingly becoming a national standard. Many workers like myself can't afford to live in a city we serve simply because we don't make enough. Currently, a single person would need to make approximately $43,451 to afford a quality standard of living. Add one child into the mix, and a minimum salary needed raises that number to $65,000. An employee raising 2 children would need a minimum of $82,321. According to a recent report by the Commonwealth Institution. It is my hope that the council will show up and do their best for healthcare workers just like we do every day for the people we serve. Thank you.
The next speaker is Terry Green. And after Mr. Green, it'll be Devon Conley.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman, and City Manager. My name is Terry Green. I've been with this public utilities for 32 years of water distribution. I'm a crew leader. I've been here for 32 years. And right now, Virginia Beach stands in front of you as proud a member of the City of Virginia Beach Union UE Local 111. We have reviewed the recommendation of Siegel, your consultants that provide the market survey, salary survey. We want to urge you to consider some of their market salary survey. We want you to urge to consider some of their proposals for raises for the city employees, including the step plan that recognize the years of service and the reclassification of all job titles more than 5% below the market average. But additional for one of these cities of our size in the country that has not raised a minimum wage up to $15 an hour. Of the 11 cities similar size of cost living in the southeast, we are only the 2 that pays workers less than $15 per hour. I have been working for the city for 32 years doing vital work to keep the water running, as all my colleagues have. You know, we have 8 water crews. We are down to 3. We are down to 3. Y'all don't feel the tension because you don't have to do the work, but we do. We have constantly working overtime, 50 to 60 hours per week, being shorthanded. So many vacant positions, we can't hire any new workers or these low wages, young workers that are looking for jobs, see that they can take their experiences and work anywhere and making such much more. What is the city plans to keep the vital service running? We think priority one needs to get our wages up to serious this year. With an 8.8% inflation, anything less is going to be a pay cut for us. I think I look around at many of the public works, utilities, human services.
Mayor, that's time.
And I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Devon Conley. And then after Mr. Conley will be Sarah Gerloff.
Hey, how y'all doing? Hi, my name is Devon Conley. I work for the City Department of Public Works Motor Equipment Operator 3 for 13 years. I am speaking today in support in the Virginia Beach City Working Union, UE, Local 111 proposal for raises for city employees, including a step pay plan that recognizes our years of service and a reclassification of all job titles more than 5% below the market average, and also to raise the floor wages up to $15 per hour. I have been working for the city for over 13 years now, doing vital work that is very hard work out in the elements to repair the city streets, yet even with my skills and experience, yet I still don't even make the midpoint of my salary grade. I don't understand why so many of us in public works and public utilities and parks and rec are always stuck at the bottom of our pay grade. Then I wonder, is the racial issue? Departments are largely white according to the city market study, seem to not have any problems getting regular wage increases and moving up their pay scales, yet we all get stuck at the bottom. According to the Siegel report, 74% of general employees are below mid-range, and that includes 52% that are still in the bottom 25 of our salary range. We really need a serious raise this year. I hope the city will take the recommendation for the step pay plan that recognize years of service and they regrade to heart. Most of our essential workers in our departments are way behind the market when comparing with similar cities. The city decided to focus on Norfolk and other smaller local governments, but our union's research department looked at other cities in the southeast with similar costs of living and size like Charlotte and Raleigh and Louisville, Kentucky. We found that we are sometimes 5,000 to even 10,000 behind our midpoint in salary range. I hope council will really take seriously the Siegel recommendation to regrade our positions and move us up pay grade. This will help give us 5 or 10% raises. If you include that with the step pay plan that recognize our years of service, that will finally be the justice we need. Please consider our union demands. The cities can't afford this. The question is, are your employees a priority for you or not? We look forward to meeting with you all in the coming days ahead and trust you will make the right choice to support city workers and our families.
The next speaker is Sarah Gerloff. After Ms. Gerloff is John Casius.
Long time no see. Are you familiar with Sal Alinsky's 8 Steps to Topple a Nation? Number 1, control healthcare to control the people. Number 2, increase the poverty level as high as possible by destroying the middle-class taxpayers. Poor people are easier to control. Number 3, increase the debt to an unsustainable level so you can increase taxes and produce more poverty. How far in debt is this city? $3 billion? Number 4, gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from Big Brother and create a police state. Number 5, welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives: food, housing, income. 6, education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Control the media and the schools. 7, religion. Remove the belief in God from the government and schools. Kick the law of the land to the curb. 8, class welfare. Divide or warfare. Divide, divide, divide. Divide by race, divide with religion, divide with politics, divide with money. Does this sound familiar to you? It should. The middle-class taxpayers pay the majority of the taxes and have been holding this country afloat. But as the middle-class tax base shrinks, so does Lady Liberty. The working middle class are really the ones with skin in the game, but they have been having to work harder and harder to keep their heads above water. Those that lack skin in the game tend to believe they are entitled or do not care where tax money is spent. These attitudes lead to poor decisions and how shrinking tax money is spent. Did you notice that when COVID hit, there was an accelerated shift in wealth to those running big corporations? Small businesses were coerced to close or operate at partial capacity, yet big corporations were allowed to remain open without restrictions. These are the same big corporations that do not pay their fair share in taxes due to loopholes like donating money to pay-to-play politicians and donating to so-called charities for tax write-offs. Our dollar grows more and more worthless by the day as it is siphoned off of our economy by these greedy caterpillars. Once your money is gone, you will finally realize what is the true value of life. Excuse me, John, I'm speaking. Okay, thank you. So
Okay,
the
folks, if we
true
could-
value in life is liberty, integrity, and love. Sometimes it takes one to lose all worldly possessions to finally realize what truly matters. Right thoughts, right words, right actions create a world that is right. We create the world with our thoughts, words, and actions.
Mayor, that's time.
What kind of world do you want to live in?
Thank
what
you very
kind
much.
of world have you been creating?
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is John Casius, and then Stacy Casius.
And folks, once again, if we can respect the speakers, a lot of folks are here, and we do want to give everybody an equal chance to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's John Casius. Mr. Mayor, Ms. Vice Mayor, and fellow council members, I'm a 57-year resident of Virginia Beach. I'm the proud owner of the Casius company that my parents started 42 years ago. As some of you know, my mom was served on Planning Commission for 8 years and proud of our city. And my dad, who's now passed away, was the first citizen of Virginia Beach. And I'm here today representing MoCA, Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art. I'm a proud board member, and I just want to ask respectfully for you to consider giving us more funding. And art heals, art attracts people, art appeals to all walks of life, and we need more funding. As you all know, we have a great exhibit. We came over here today. We have an opening with Maya Lin. It's huge for the Mid-Atlantic region, not only Virginia Beach, and you all have been very supportive to help us make that happen. We have so many other types of artists like Carol Walker that Gary mentioned earlier, and I'm just here to just ask for your help. As a commercial real estate agent, I can tell you that the Vibe District is on everyone's radar. We represent regional, national restaurants, entertainment chains, etc. And they all ask about what's this Vibe District, what's going on there, what kind of real estate can we get there? We'd like to open up a location for a new restaurant, what have you. And that does nothing but help our area and attract attention to Virginia Beach. I don't know, as most of you, if you travel, we always look to see where a museum is, what kind of entertainment or arts districts are in the city we go visit. And we see that now with what MoCA's done early on through COVID and beyond. And I just passionately ask you to consider helping the Vibe, MoCA, and the arts heal and bring all sorts of people in our area and beyond to Virginia Beach. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me, the next speaker is Stacy Casius, and then George Bryant.
Good evening, City Council and all my fellow citizens. I've never spoken before City Council before. This is my first time, but I'd like to say how much I appreciate everybody that I've heard tonight. My name is Stacy Casius. I am a professional artist, educator, and art administrator of the Centera Brock Cancer Center. I reside in Virginia Beach. I can't imagine Virginia Beach without a rich arts environment. I would not want to live in a city without art and all of the cultural, intellectual, and social activity that art brings. Arts are a cultural magnet for any city. The arts presence in our city is uplifting and energizing. Who doesn't think of the iconic King Neptune on the Virginia Beach Boardwalk, a monument that has been tagged and photographed thousands of times? Or the Virginia MoCA Boardwalk Art Show that draws locals and tourists alike for a chance to mingle with artists or perhaps purchase a work of art for your own home. And most importantly for me, the gem of Virginia Beach, the Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art, is the most striking example of the active arts culture in our city. In our museum, which is the only contemporary art museum in the Commonwealth of Virginia, art is presented that is sophisticated, enriching, broad, and accessible. The current exhibition by artist Maya Lin draws inspiration from the entire Tidewater region, and especially the Chesapeake Bay. This art was created to inspire people to care more about the beauty of our bay, appreciating it, protecting it, a very timely and critical topic right now. Recently, an open call invitation went out from Virginia MoCA, and this invitation was for artists of all ages to create art describing what is missing from the Chesapeake Bay. That invitation gave children and adults a chance to think, work with their own ideas and hands, and create something that is shown in our local art museum. The variety, beauty, and thoughtfulness of what is on display is only a peek at the creativity that, in my opinion, lives in each and every one of us. In closing, I love and appreciate so much all of the many people in this city, including donors, artists, teachers, professionals, politicians, and visitors, to all of the arts in our city that make it possible to enjoy our many fantastic offerings. Arts are often peacemakers and bridge builders. Arts are healthy, promote health and wellness, and improves the quality of life. I thank the City Council for every dollar spent on the arts, and I strongly support more dollars flowing to the arts that uplift us all. I'd also like to invite everyone here to visit our art museum, which is right across the street.
Mayor, that's time.
Admission is free all summer long.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker is George Bryant. After Mr. Bryant is Jerome Bell.
Good evening. Mayor Dyer, members of council, Mr. Duhaney. First of all, I'd like to suggest you could save some money right here in this room if you push that thermostat up a little bit. Anyhow, I'm George Bryant, and I've lived in Wilson-Air Plantation for 54 years. The average real estate tax increase in the proposed budget is punishing the citizens of this city at a time when they're wrestling with 7.9% or more inflation. Groceries, fuel, and most everything we buy have soared since COVID hit and the current administration took office. My taxes have increased more than twice as fast over the years as our income. I understand that the city is also facing inflation, but even taxpayers fortunate enough to have received pay increases are unable to keep up. The problem is especially difficult for retirees who have had to deal with little to no interest on savings for almost 14 years. Even some stock dividends have been reduced in the last year. My understanding is that the revenue-neutral real estate tax is closer to 91 cents. The 1.013 proposed by Mr. Dehaney is almost 11% when you take into account the 9.3% assessment increase and the 2.3 cents included for the new flood protection plan. The various tax and fee increases you have proposed against the citizens of Virginia Beach are not justified in a budget of $2.5 billion. Most families can't put together $400 for emergencies. While I appreciate you defraying what could have been a 42.9% increase in the personal property tax, to my knowledge, only one of you has shown any concern for the taxpayers over the real estate tax increases. I believe all of you have received emails and messages from concerned taxpayers. The city's debt and unfunded liabilities remain a problem, and still you're proposing $45 million to purchase property at the oceanfront, for which details have been fairly scarce. The city's proposed increase in spending far exceeds the increases most working folks have received, even with the larger wage increases that have occurred in the last year. It's easy to manage by increasing taxes and fees. Good managers keep taxes and fees down and the city living within the conservative means of the taxpayers. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jerome Bell. And after Mr. Bell will be Brandon Beavers.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. I just want to say one thing first. Mr. Dehaney, I hope you got a calculator on that phone and trying to figure out this budget, bro, because you've been in that phone all night long, and you need to listen to people because we're talking to you right now, okay? All right, and the national debt is over $30 trillion, and we taxpayers, our children and grandchildren, are already on the tab for this. At a time when Joe Biden's policies has given us history-high inflation, higher gas prices, food prices, energy prices, higher rent and mortgage prices, while no increase in personal wages, families are suffering. We have to budget our households more than ever on pretty much fixed incomes to make ends meet. And most are having to decide on putting less gas in their vehicle to get to work just to have enough to feed their children. Our city is over $3 billion in debt, and increasing our debt ceiling destroys the middle class and really only makes poor people poor. Families cannot afford a higher tax burden that will continue on the backs of our children and their children. I'm sure this is not how you handle your households, but it's always easier to run up debt when you're spending someone else's money. The budget should be balanced, and homeowners deserve a revenue-neutral tax rate and a zero increase in real estate taxes. We also need transparency of where our money is being spent on. No more backroom deals and special projects where $45 million of taxpayer money is a secret. The city needs to be more responsible with citizens' money and listen to the people that you hear from tonight and not be like the federal government that is totally out of control. I've been a football coach for over 20 years, and I can tell you, and I'm sure Councilman Rouse can attest to this, AstroTurf looks sweet, and maintenance costs may be less, but it will raise families' medical costs due to knee injuries and traumatic concussion head injuries more than natural grass that families do not need at this time. The turf can wait. We are taxed enough already, and we need to be able to invest into our kids' STEAM and trade skills education futures, not rob them of it. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Brandon Beavers. After Mr. Beavers is Gray Pearsons. Is there Brandon Beavers here? Gray Pearsons. And after Mr. Pearsons will be Kathleen Ashby.
Good evening. My name is Gray Persons, and I live in Norfolk. But while I'm a resident of Ghent, I have found the new Vibe District so unique and important that I've been compelled to serve for several years on the Friends of the Creative District Board. I chose to make Ghent my home because of the unique sense of community I found there. Nowhere else did I see the very genuine, inclusive, diverse, and authentic creative culture, something I wanted to be a part of and have been for the last 35 years. It wasn't something I really saw anywhere else in this region. All that changed when the organization I work for, Hope House Foundation, began supporting adults with developmental disabilities 3 years ago at Seaside Harbor. My job in advocacy and outreach is unique in that I work side by side with the people we support. They're my colleagues. These colleagues are glad for the all too unique opportunity to live in the community. What is far more challenging is being part of the community. Well, at Seaside, that happened very organically. People we support walked out the front door into the Vibe District, found jobs, things to do, stores to shop in, activities to participate, an inclusive and welcoming community. The things most of us take granted, it's how we meet people, it's how we build connections. It happened here with your support, and because of the vision of some very smart and creative people, and the sweat equity, advocacy, and leadership of folks like Kate Pittman and others over here, all of which inspired a lot of people to put everything that they have into businesses to create something really special and unique at the Vibe. And the Vibe isn't finished. While other creative communities are struggling, trust me, Colley Avenue is a ghost town at 9 o'clock, and there's a lot of empty storefronts. The Vibe is growing. But this is fragile and the Vibe is young. Without ongoing support and investment, we risk losing the people and programming that create the energy that attract people to the Vibe. Without them, we'll lose the small businesses and we'll lose the soul of the neighborhood. A community's energy and soul are hard to quantify, something much easier to quantify. Annual funds invested, like $50,000 to $100,000 a year in city budget. Return, 50 businesses, millions in private commercial investment, increased real estate value, $500,000 in increased real estate tax revenue in 2021 alone. That's a revenue generator. The current budget draft includes no funding for the Vibe. The Vibe and the people involved are delivering vibrant, inclusive community with financial rewards for the city, through COVID no less. If pulling the city's funding was an oversight, please correct it. If it was deliberate, please reconsider. Heck, the smart money is to go ahead and double down. It's not a lot of money, and it is driving huge return. Thank you so much for your attention, for this opportunity.
I'm sorry. Sure. Yes, ma'am. Kathleen Ashby. After Miss Ashby will be Elaine Feckety.
I'm Kathleen Ashby, or Kay Ashby. I'm with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Virginia Beach, coastal Virginia. But I'm here tonight to speak about the Vibe and the arts. The mental health plays a vital role, the arts play a vital role in mental health therapy, recovery, and it's a new tool for us to reach people and educate them about mental health. In 2021, NAMI joined with the Season for Nonviolence, and the Vibe for a public art exhibit, a public art mural. It's located in a butterfly garden on Mediterranean, ironically, right by that Seaside Apartments, where people can come out and enjoy it. Erica Hitchcock, an artist and former educator, was our lead artist. Her brother had completed suicide in 2018. She agreed to lead the mural project and called it Seeds of Hope. I just handed out the flyer to you. At the top, you'll see an idea of what the mural looks like, and you'll see her quote that if you build a garden, she'll always remember, in her case, her brother. We worked with over 50 artists, art teachers, and students to create that mural. Tyler Jesse, who's a carpenter and works in the Vibe and is an artist in his own right, actually carved out all of the 30 flowers that were part of the project. The piece is a public art located in the Butterfly Garden, which was just recently recognized, their landscapers, the Orbis Landscaping, for its public art project. Because of the Vibe, a small parklet replaced a blighted alleyway. Because of the Vibe, a mental health project located there provides a place to sit and enjoy on benches designed by Votech students. Because of the Vibe, we now have a small rock garden there with mental health messages that people can take and distribute that were created by students in the Season for Nonviolent Collaborative. This is one project. This year we did another project. This one was focusing on our LGBTQ and homeless youth. The mental health issues for these two groups, from trauma and bullying, are well known. They have one of the highest suicide rates in the country. This project transformed, again, a little parklet. It includes a huge mural. It's probably one of my favorite ones in the whole Vibe, that was designed for Stand Up for Kids, the program that's here in the Vibe that works with homeless children, homeless youth. On April 4th, the parklet was designated, Votech students once again created a bench.
Mayor, that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Elaine Feckety. And after Ms. Feckety is Brian Luciano.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry. When my daughter was a toddler, she used to sit at my desk with me and help me pay bills. When she was learning to read, she'd pick up each one and she'd go, "Why do they all say tax?" Made me think of that when I was thinking about coming here tonight. I won't tell you what my response was, I'll keep that to myself. But one day she looked at me and she said, "There's a tax on every single bill. What happens, Mommy, when all our money goes to taxes and there's nothing left for us?" Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's where we are right now. Full disclosure, most of you know I'm running for council in District 2, but that's not why I'm here. I want to make it clear. I'm here every year saying the same thing. You need a revenue-neutral budget. But what I have this year is the voices of the people that I've been meeting that have been telling me, no one's listening to us. We cannot afford what you are trying to sell us. You know what's been going on in the world, the country, the city, the last 2 years, gas, food, every commodity known to man, through the roof and still climbing. Inflation, the highest in 40 years, not just this month, but 5 months ago when you started working on the budget, and you should have seen that. We have a governor, whether you voted for him or not, that won primarily on promising a grocery and a gas tax relief. And now you want to negate that with an 11.1% real estate tax increase on top of real estate tax assessment increase of an average of 9%. That is a double whammy. How could you even consider that in this day and age? How? Some of you have warned that if you go to a revenue-neutral budget, essential services would have to be cut, and that's simply not true. Your budget is based on, I believe, a 6.8% revenue increase. So if you cut essential services, that's because you choose to do that. Adopting a revenue-neutral budget, as a reminder, is required by the state of Virginia. And anything higher than that, you are making a conscious decision to vote to raise that tax. The budget's your main responsibility. You got to make the hard decisions. Adopting a revenue-neutral budget's always the goal, but this year it's imperative. Councilman Moss has presented you with one option that makes it revenue neutral and absorbs the bond referendum 4.1% increase. That's a tax relief on top of it. You don't have to do it that way. There's plenty of other options out there. Projects, some of the things just as a suggestion, projects that are fully funded next year, why are we escalating them to this year? Do we need that building this year that much? Is that a need? Borrowing $45 million for undisclosed property at the oceanfront for undisclosed reasons. Do we need that debt this year when people are choosing between their prescriptions or their gas tank? I don't think so.
Mayor, that is time.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Brian Luciano, and after Mr. Luciano is Max Ganano.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. On behalf of the nearly 500 police officers and detectives, and now I'm proud to say forensics employees that I have the honor of representing, I'd like to thank you all for getting the conversation on establishing a step pay plan this far along. But I do request that you help me get it across the finish line. It's no secret that our profession has been much maligned over the years, and because of that, we've suffered greatly in the retention and recruitment area. And because of that, we have to get creative in how we pay our officers and in the compensation package as a whole. And I think that a step plan clearly would do that. It would help keep us competitive. Step plans are the norm throughout the country. They are becoming the norm in our area. We cannot be the last domino to fall. For a city our size, we really should be the leader in this issue, not have other cities following, or other cities should be following us. We should be the leader. We should be setting the standard. Other municipalities should be making every attempt to emulate us, not the other way around. Numerous times this year, Chief Newdigate has come before you, and he has said that in order to remain competitive, we need to establish a step plan, a meaningful step plan with wage increases. That clearly is meaningful because I don't know too many times when you would see the executive staff agree with the police officers. So that tells you something right there when everyone from top down is on board with this issue. So I'm asking for you to help us get this across the finish line, establish a meaningful step plan, one that honors the time and service, not just in time and grade, because we are going to never find ourselves getting out of this retention and recruitment problem. And for those that question that this may not help solve a recruitment or retention problem, I say that we've already addressed that. If you look at the way that we've changed how we pay our lateral transfers, once we started doing that, we were getting so many applications that we had to kind of enter into informal agreements that we wouldn't take all their people. So clearly, if we can come up with creative ways to pay our people and pay them better, we will address retention and recruitment. So I'm asking for your help in this. Thank you.
The next speaker is Max Ganano, and then Brian Jones.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer, Vice Mayor Wilson, honorable members of City Council. My name is Max Ganano, and I'm the president of the Virginia Beach Professional Firefighters, which represents the sworn career men and women of your EMS and fire departments. I know you've heard a lot from us over the last several months regarding the challenges that public safety is having with recruiting, retention, and with the massive amounts of mandatory overtime being used to fill those gaps in the fire department. I'll spare you the specifics. I know you've heard enough about them by now. But I will say, thank you for considering a step plan for public safety as part of your budget process. The city's own market salary survey stated that 85% of the surveyed localities had a public safety step plan, and only 2 did not. These are the standard models of public safety compensation, and in the last year, we have seen several nearby localities implement public safety step plans of their own. This makes these localities instantly more competitive for the limited pool of potential public safety candidates, and we ask you to do the same. Along those same lines, how you structure a public safety step plan is as important as if you do. The basic premise of the proposed step plan is years of service. The placement of current employees should be based on that as well. At this time, I would ask that all members of public safety in the room stand who support City Council implementing a public safety step plan based on years of service. Thank you all so much for your time.
The next speaker is Brian Jones. After Mr. Jones is Lori Golding Santini. Mass exodus. Brian Jones. Lori Golding Santini. Perfect.
Right here.
And then it'll be Diana Howard.
Got to put it to short girl status. I'm pretty short. Hi, everybody. Good evening. City Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Manager Duhaney. Good evening. My name is Lori Golding Zontini. I am the Executive Director of the Old Beach Farmers Market, located in the Vibe Creative District. Old Beach Farmers Market is celebrating its 14th year. Woo! I've been a part of OBFM for almost 8 years now, starting out as a vendor with my small jam company. A few years later, a position opened to take the role of the executive director, and of course, I jumped at the chance. I still have my small jam company, by the way. I have seen our little community grow significantly over the past few years. We've been able to give so many small businesses an opportunity right here in the Vibe and at OBFM. I've had the pleasure of watching some of our vendors go from just having a booth to having their products in over 200 stores across the United States. I have to say I'm very proud of Crunchy Hydration. Being part of the Vibe community has given me so much satisfaction in my life. It has truly helped me grow personally. During COVID, it was difficult for all of us as a nation. Here in the Vibe, we have held on tight to our markets, restaurants, retail stores, and our local and regional artists. We collectively came up with ways to serve our communities. Drive-through farmers markets to help bridge the gap of going to the local grocery stores and finding there was nothing on the shelves to buy. That means we were able to help our farmers, bakers, and other vendors stay in business. The Vibe was still able to continue with Mural Fest. It was not like others in the past, but it was still able to help artists spread the love of art and joy during this difficult time. And of course, the restaurants and retail follow in ways they could stay open too. Partnership with the Vibe is so important to us all here, whether we are farmers coming to sell our goods on a Saturday, an artist who has an opportunity to construct their first mural, and to connect with other like-minded individuals. A person with an idea but need ways to cultivate it. Those that have sprung from our markets to now brick and mortars in the Vibe or somewhere else in Hampton Roads. Those have been doing business for years and continue to thrive because we are all connected. We are all here to stay, to grow, and to flourish. I could go on about all the positives that come out of the Vibe District, but as you have heard this evening and seen the support, I don't believe I need to. So thank you for your time and your consideration, and I hope we can rely on your support. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Diana Howard. After Ms. Howard is Vic Nichols.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diana Howard. I'm the chair of the Virginia Beach Tea Party. Hold up your signs. We are taxed enough already. If you haven't heard, we have a $12 billion surplus in the state budget, and they're over there arguing about whether or not they're going to give us a tax break. It's the same thing with city council here. We have surpluses. We had an $81 million surplus on the city side and a $54 million surplus on the school side, yet you all want to raise taxes. We have the manager of budget and management, the director of management and budget, over at our meeting, and he had this chart with a list of all the increases in taxes, right? Sales tax revenues are increasing by 29%. Meals tax increasing 43%. Hotel revenue increasing 45%. Amusement tax increasing 61%. Residential property increasing 11.3%, while commercial property is decreasing 0.06%. And even though you're gonna lower the property tax on vehicles 25%, you're still getting a 19% increase on that. So why are you looking to raising taxes? I mean, why not bring it down to a 91-cent real estate tax? Why increase the taxes on real estate? The hotel, restaurant, and amusement taxes, those are all disposable income. But groceries and our homes are not disposable incomes. We have to pay those, right? We are being taxed out of our homes. So, the city taxes all over the city, and then they give it to the resort. The city wants to issue $74 million in debt. $45 million of that is possibly to purchase the Dairy Queen and 17th Street stage. To do what? Tear it down and build a parking garage, something that Councilman Branch floated, right? Parking garages that we pay for, and then we have to pay to use them, right? More likely, you'll lease them to a developer for $1 a year in a P3, just like you did for the Dome site, an existing surface parking lot. But we're going to pay to build parking garages there, the music venues, streetscapes, purchase land and infrastructure around to support it. And before you say it's being paid by the Tourist Investment Program, money going to the tip is increasing, and I just told you what those are, right?
Mayor, that's
We
time.
all pay the meals tax. Everybody pays it when they pay when they
Thank
do.
you. Appreciate it.
The next speaker is Vic Nichols. After Ms. Nichols is Rosa Gregory Gordon Joyner.
Are y'all giving up part of your salary like Elon Musk is, or actually all of it? We'd appreciate it. What can't be held off on in this budget? Okay, the oceanfront and that $45 million slush fund, buildings and parking lots take a few years to build, but seniors and poor folk got to eat. They have to have gas for work, and they need their meds to be able to stay alive, not be taxed so that they can't pay for their meds and die. I got a 62-year-old that is working 2 jobs 7 days a week, an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and 6 hours or so on Saturday or Sunday. They were held up with gunpoint Easter Sunday, and they couldn't take off work because they can't afford to. You think what's going through their mind right now? But it's because of the taxes and everything else that they can't stop. That's an abomination. Your liens and your bankruptcies, aren't they going up? That should tell you something. The VDOE staffing and vacancy report had 2.3% of teachers having unfulfilled positions, which is the smallest out of all of them. They're getting 10% raises at the state level. The VDH postponed Virginia school health guidelines due to the complaints about the political agendas and are reworking it. Why ask for dollars if you're not going to academically educate, but porn and political indoctrinate by an 8-3 vote? The budget has an effect on your neighboring cities. Drop yours, and you will also help out other people. Virginia Beach is a leader in that. Chesapeake is raising its restaurant and meals tax to 6%. You've got it at 5.5. Drop it to 5%. You're going to see a lot of business come over here, and it's going to make up for that. Be smarter. Small businesses have already taken it on the chin for more than 2 years from COVID. They have had to now sit here and pay more and more money. It is time to sit there and look at what you're doing for small businesses when economic development only looks at the middle and larger ones. Help out the smaller businesses, especially minority businesses. That's where they start building equity, and everything else is in that. For once, sit there and don't pay lip service to doing stuff for people. Actually make the difference. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rosa Gregory Gordon Joyner, and then Patrick Edwards.
Good evening, everybody, and to the mayor and all the members of the City Council. This is my first time ever doing this, but I'm speaking on behalf of the CTAC.
Ma'am, could you talk into the speaker? Thank you. The microphone. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, give us just a second. Pause your time.
Go for it. Okay, me and technology. There are still some people here that's from the CTAC Community Center. I heard the mayor speak when he first opened. He was talking about the history of Virginia Beach. I'm letting you know, Mayor Dyer, that we citizens, black citizens of Virginia Beach, we are Virginia Beach history. And what I want you to know is that there are a lot of things that's going on in the city of Virginia Beach that does not need to be disrespected. And I'm saying this in the sense, when I was riding through this area trying to come to this place, I looked and I cried, because where the police department is, where the fire department is, on Virginia Beach Boulevard, that's the land that I was born on. Well, on this 19th Street, all of this area was a black neighborhood. And it looks like we don't exist anymore, but we do. I am a retired teacher from Plaza Middle School, and I taught there. I started kind of late, but that's okay, better late than never, when I was 41 years old. And when I found out that Plaza Middle School, that land used to belong to descendants of former slaves, I said, these children are going to learn black history. And then I found out that on South Lynnhaven Road, that area, those graves there between those trees, that the upkeep was by one of the Williams family. When I found out who it was my former 7th grade teacher. I said, they're gonna learn black history. And the way that I tried to teach history was to try to teach them in a way that they would know that all of us helped make this area. CTAC is history. Slaves used to run away to this area. We need to keep that CTAC Community Center going. All of us, I think, I was looking around, the majority of us are at least 25 years old. I'm 73. Now, at 73 years old and 25 years old, at one time, didn't you need some improvement to make yourself look better? Don't you think the CTAC Community Center needs some improvement to make it look better? All right, 18th Street, I remember the first set, I'm gonna say it historically, colored policemen in Virginia Beach. The picture in this book, Black History of our Heritage, and they had noted Virginia Beach as Princess Anne County. Princess Anne County is mentioned in the Emancipation Proclamation.
Mayor, that's
this was
time.
slave territory, but we are not slaves anymore. Keep
Thank you, ma'am.
the city
Appreciate
going.
it.
The next speaker is Patrick Edwards, and then Marie Weaver.
That's a hard act to follow. My name is Patrick Edwards. I have lived here my entire life for 40 years. I was one of the first recognized businesses of the Vibe District. I opened up my restaurant, The Stockpot, about 7 years ago. I'm here on behalf of the Vibe District, more on a business sense. At the beginning, your remarks, Mayor, were about how the oceanfront is a priority, and I feel through my interactions with tourists, locals that I speak to on a daily basis, day in and day out, 7 days a week for 7 years, the Vibe District started with very little, especially if my little teeny restaurant was the first one to kind of make the way, and has blossomed into the epicenter of what I feel is the biggest part of the oceanfront. Every tourist comes in the restaurant or somewhere around those lines, goes to the Old Beach Farmers Market, which is actually where my restaurant started before I had a brick and mortar. And with the activations and the events that are put on, it has become where every person who comes to visit and every local thinks of going to on a consistent daily basis. I remember when I first opened up, there was a whole bunch of other restaurants opening up, and people were talking to me about, am I worried about the competition? And I said, absolutely not. Right now, no one thinks about this area for culinary anything. Fast forward 3-4 years, the Vibe District is the center of the culinary arts in the city of Virginia Beach. It is also where everyone goes on their bicycles, on their skateboards, on walking, driving. If you come there on a Saturday and you see Old Beach Farmers Market, it is just littered with everyone, and that is tourists and locals alike. And that ranges from age 95 to 5. I think it's short-sighted to not invest money into the Vibe District this year, next year, and so on, as it will become why people come here more so every single year. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Marie Weaver. After Ms. Weaver is Sandra Schinnebarger.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marie Weaver. I'm not from Virginia Beach, nor have I worked and lived here for 20 or 50 years. I moved here 6 years ago, had only been here once, maybe 12 years ago, as a tourist. So like Mayor Dyer said, I know what's important to a tourist, and I know what's important as a resident. When I was a tourist, I don't remember anything from that trip. But now living here, I didn't know what to do. I am a school teacher. I own and teach at Organic Beginnings Montessori School, which is now in the Vibe. At our first location, not in the Vibe, we started with 5 kids, and we doubled and doubled and doubled again, and just moved. Kate and Laura helped me find a location in the Vibe, and we have a wait list of 51 students right now. So starting at 5 kids in 2018, so it hasn't been that long, and we have a wait list of 51 kids, and our locations have doubled, is awesome. And I have to tell Patrick that it doesn't stop at 5, it goes to 2.5 years old. So we take our kids around the field trips of other places in the Vibe. We go through the gardens at Crocs, which is actually where I met everybody who got me to where I am today. Laura and Lori host the Old Beach Farmers Market. That is where I went when I first moved here, because I knew that I wanted to be involved. Met a bunch of farmers, started teaching kids farming and cooking classes, and then met Kate, who hooked me up with the Vibe, and it's just been boom, boom, boom ever since. When someone visits me from my hometown of Harrisonburg in the Shenandoah Valley, when friends and family visit me, or old neighbors from Washington, D.C. visit me, here the first thing they ask is, what's the best place in the Vibe? And I don't even know what to tell them. There are so many amazing places. The Vibe is where they ask to go. Mocha is where they ask to go, and that's only usually it's first, if not second, to the state park. So I would say, please help the Vibe out. They have 50+ small businesses just like myself there who make their living and kept us afloat during COVID, which was a super tough time, and I hope that someday I can afford to buy a home here. Thanks.
The next speaker is Sandra Schinnebarger, and then James Taylor.
Good evening, Mayor Dyer and City Council members. Thank you for serving nearly 500,000 citizens of Virginia Beach. Please consider this reconsider this budget in the name of keeping Virginia Beach open for business with the locals. In order to support fellow businesses, like the ones Ms. Wooten in her Ignite program, citizens need to keep enough of their own money to be comfortable spending their money supporting local businesses all year round. I wholeheartedly object to such high property tax increases. An 11.1% increase is outrageous. Does adding such a disadvantage to homeowners really help anyone? Property taxes have already increased a few times in recent years. I object to the plumbing permit fee increases. A 67% increase is outrageous. $40 permit fees would be more appropriate. I don't see any benefits for making plumbing and electrical work more expensive than it already is. I object to spending the $90 million at the oceanfront. Also, what is that $45 million site acquisition item for? Well, I don't see how one property can possibly be worth $45 million at the oceanfront. And why was it placed to be less noticeable and less likely for questions? We can leave Dairy Queen alone, like we have for decades. Most Virginia Beach citizens need to keep their $45 million to pay for increasing costs of groceries, gas, and rent. Also, based on a 5-day week, I would, if you could consider closing the pay gap. I mean, why do we have some people earning $100 a day, and then there are some people earning about $1,000 a day? I suggest at least, just slowly making adjustments to that, just to address staff morale at the very least. I'm also trying to understand why repeated requests for adding trash cans to the underpasses and then a request to try only one trash can has been denied on the basis of lack of resources. The cost to empty one trash can once or twice a month is nowhere near $90 million. The cost is nowhere near one person's salary of either $25,000 or over $250,000. And also a trash can, it's a preventative item where it prevents much more expensive cleanups of the waterways. And please consider decreasing the oceanfront items and increasing funding for Parks and Rec and waste management, at least by a few $1,000s or enough to empty one trash can once a month. At least review a few economics articles also before approving a budget that will hurt over 400,000 residents. And please give locals the option of helping Virginia Beach stay open for business. Thank you.
Next speaker is James Taylor, and after that it'll be Kat Porterfield.
I'm James Taylor. I started working for the city clear back in Bob Jones and helping with this directly with the city council with John Motz, and she's the only one left here now. But my problem is with the stormwater thing. I need to know how much money has been taken in since 1993, almost 50 years in stormwater fees, and what has been accomplished by the stormwater fees money. I've got a lot of stuff going on that says that a lot of that money was used in infrastructure projects not directly required for a stormwater fee. The area between Bow Creek, Rosemont, and Windsor Woods, all that area there feeds Windsor Lake, Lake Trashmore, and they only have one drain out of that whole area, and that's a drain that goes under 264, under all the way to Virginia Beach Boulevard bridge there. That area has never been drained, has never been dredged for 50 years. That is the whole problem of the whole thing of keeping the water from draining and causing the flood in that Windsor Woods area. You drain that. When we came here in 1983, you could see the tide going in and out of that area. You haven't seen that in 5 years now at least. You can look at the monitor, read the monitor on Plaza Trail Bridge. That place has not changed in water level more than 12 inches in the last 5 years, because there is no drainage to Lake Windsor. And I talked to the people in charge of the stormwater fees last week, and I asked them when they're going to dredge that area out between 264 and the Lynn Haven Bridge, or Virginia Beach Boulevard Bridge. And they said they aren't planning on doing it. And I found out from another friend, the reason they aren't planning on doing it, because they do that, that solves the problem. They don't have a job anymore. So we need to start looking and getting things done right and getting it done now. I've been waiting 5 years to get that. I spent 3 days with the previous city manager and assistant city manager going through the whole thing. And they came back and they said, well, we want to make a little New Orleans here and put these pumps in and all this other stuff in. It's not necessary. You could put a sea flow level wall at the Virginia Beach Boulevard Bridge and prevent the high rise and high tide when we have one. You could drain the Windsor Lake area before a big storm and put the wall up, and we would have more than enough space for the rainwater for that whole area without any
Mayor,
flooding
that's
whatsoever.
time.
So we need to get it fixed. I'm volunteering right now to work for the city of Virginia Beach as a quality
Thank you,
assurance
sir.
manager.
Appreciate it.
And I'll work for 10% of the money I save the city.
I don't know how to shut that thing off. Who was that? James Taylor?
Cat Porterfield.
Cat Porterfield, and then Conrad Schisventer. Because the time was up.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. American economist and Nobel Prize winner Milton Friedman not only knew that government was expensive, he knew why. He wrote that there are only 4 ways to spend money. The first way is for you to spend your money on yourself. When you spend your money on yourself, you generally get what you want, and because it's your money, you are likely to seek out a bargain to retain as much of your money as possible. Second is to spend your money on someone else. Here, you are still likely looking for the best deal because it's still your money, but the person you are spending the money on may not get exactly what they want. For instance, they want a car, you give them a bicycle. Third, to spend somebody else's money on yourself. This method is familiar to a lot of elected officials. Not much caution or care is exercised when someone is spending somebody else's money on themselves. Fourth, that's to spend other people's money on other people. It's not your money, and there's nothing in it for you. Sound familiar? It should be, because this is the way all government spending is done. The perceived value of that money is a couple degrees away from how you value your own money. This is why we have heard members of this body say many times over on projects and items with price tags of $1 million or more, well, that's not a lot of money. Well, that's because it isn't your money. When you had FEMA funds that were to be allotted to local small businesses to help them recover from pandemic shutdowns, you were quick to divert that chunk of change to the sheriff to be used for bonuses for his deputies to the tune of $3,000 each, because his deputies deserved it. I'm not here to say they didn't, but the optics of that decision are dismal. It was approved just before an election. Who isn't going to vote for the guy who puts an extra $3,000 in their pockets? They are going to vote for that guy like their jobs depend on it. Now, what we have before us tonight is a big fat discussion about other people's money and how more other people are going to spend it. Tonight, you've had standing before you the heartbeat of this city, the people who make the blood pump every day and give this city life. You know, the good stuff: parks, libraries, human services, museums, and even this building we are meeting in tonight, the people who probably set up our chairs and your tables. Step away from how you have previously viewed spending other people's money and spend it instead like you are spending your money on yourself. You are the library worker. You are the custodian. You work in public works. Spend it like you need to make sure you have enough to feed yourself and maybe even a child. Do you have children? Because 9 out of 10 city employees can't even afford to have one child, at least not and still put a roof over their head, and not in Virginia Beach. Tell them you care and have concern for them, and applaud their decision to the city like you did for the deputies.
Mayor, that's time.
Okay. $15 an hour. Anything less is reprehensible.
The next speaker is Conrad Schisventer. After Mr. Schisventer is Kay Barbini.
Last night, we heard Mayor Dyer use the phrase, "the future is now." And it has me wondering whose future. It's not mine. I bite my fingernails enough, worrying if my part-time recreation job can turn into a full-time career in Virginia Beach that I can buy property with and raise a family on. Hopefully it's the community's future. Remember, City Council, you're being measured by the Community Action Team on the merits of how you weigh community versus the city. In your leadership measure, in your ethics and knowledge measures, in your teamwork and community measures, and your communication measures, are you lofting the community or the budget's interest with your revenue requests and allocations? The request for higher real estate taxes and user fees would cause concern, yet knowing it decided to work on flooding means it helps the community. And in light of real estate tax and user fees hikes, we'd still sit ill knowing there's now a $45 million focus and vision to acquire oceanfront properties like a Dairy Queen, to have a long-term vision thinking parking and beach riches. See, I don't know if it is because of its decided real estate and resort area property interest on this body, but having a zealous interest to tax, spend on town center and the oceanfront, tax again, spend on town center and the oceanfront, tax again, repeat again, it's city budget-centric and not community-centric. Community-centric will fully fund schools, lean into equity-based improvements, follow on the initiative of Councilwoman Wooten to breathe life into women and minority-owned businesses. Imagine if there was an equity investment fund, an EIF, and the city set aside $45 million to acquire land for women and minority-owned businesses and farms. Or is that too much for a body in a simple black and white vote, 9-1 vote last night? Put up the hoops in front of the Ignite Serious and Disparity Forums. Perhaps it is, and the Community Action Team will judge that. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kay Barbini. After Ms. Barbini is Mark Stevens.
Whew, thought I'd never make it up here. No. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and City Manager. My name is Kay Barbini, and I am here representing the Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art, or Virginia MoCA as we call it, and I'm also here on behalf of the Vibe District. I'd like to share with you the mission of Virginia MoCA. Virginia MoCA represents ever-changing exhibitions where neighbors, strangers, students, families, communities and cultures are invited to explore our shared humanity through locally relevant and nationally resonant contemporary art that is exceptional in all of its timeliness, restlessness, and beauty. Our vision is that people of all walks will move closer to a more compassionate world through the shared experience of contemporary art. A vibrant arts district is of utmost importance to residents and visitors. Both the efforts of the Vibe and Virginia MoCA to help make Virginia Beach a vibrant, dynamic, and inclusive community in organic and authentic ways will be negatively impacted in a significant way if our funding jointly is decreased by the projected $500,000. We have a vital and vibrant arts ecosystem, and it is imperative to the health and well-being of the city that strives to be a first-class, year-round travel destination that contributes to the city's quality of life, the strengthening of its communities, and its diverse economy. Art changes lives. Virginia MoCA and the Vibe District is an incredible way to have an absolutely joyful experience in your life. I ask that you please reinstate the $500,000 decrease in funding from last year for both Virginia MoCA and the Vibe District. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mark Stevens. After Mr. Stevens will be Lorraine Snyder.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you very much, first of all, what you do, and we appreciate it.
I am here as a citizen and a business owner within the Vibe. In 2013, I opened a business on Cypress at 17th Street, and everybody asked me, why are you opening a business there? And I said, because this is my neighborhood. And it is my neighborhood. I live on 21st Street. So I am in the Vibe 24/7. I work 7 days a week at my business. The last 2 years have been the best years of my business. You don't hear that too often, but I contributed to what the Vibe offers. People were out, people were walking around, people were coming in my business. My employees all retained their jobs. They worked, I worked 6 days a week, and the Vibe is the reason for that. People were out looking at artwork because they could go outside and breathe fresh air. They were coming in my business to get something to eat because I was there. The Vibe contributed a lot to my business. And also, I run a nonprofit. It's called Stand Up for Kids. We work with homeless youth right here in the city. As you go down Cypress and look to your left, you will see a picture of 2 homeless youth that we work with. With Kate's help, we were able to do that mural. The Vibe is just not an art district, it's a community. It's a community within our whole city, a city that gets benefits from the Vibe, but also is a family-friendly place. Tourists come here to see the artwork, to enjoy the shops, to enjoy the good food. And I can tell you, I eat a lot of food in the Vibe. I'm at Stockpot pretty much 3 days a week. I find, in my community, and it's all our community, because the taxes that we raise goes back to everybody. It's not one district, it's not one ward. All that money is going to come back to everybody. And it's a small investment for such a big return. My dad always says you look for the best return on your money. This is a huge return because the business owners love the Vibe. We invest in the Vibe. I have murals and art that I bought from all the artists around here. I employ the homeless who need jobs because the Vibe is here and they accept this. So the Vibe is a new thing in the city, but it's nationwide known. It's known all over the world because of the work that Kate has done and Laura has invested in this. Can't look at anything else better for a small investment because a lot of people are spending a lot of money. Just last year, I collected $46,000 just in food and drink taxes that went straight to the city from people spending their money in my restaurant. This is a great investment at a small dollar amount, so thank you very much.
The next speaker is Lorraine Snyder. After Ms. Snyder is Teresa Langwell.
Good evening. I'm here, Council. I would like to remind you it's Mental Health Month, and families are hurting under the highest inflation for 40 years. The General Assembly has not yet approved a budget, and that makes it hard to plan the city's budget. It's also hard on us. On average, a family of 4 has seen its grocery bills go more than $250 more a month. The grocery tax is one of the taxes proposed by them to cut altogether or just state's portion. Another is a gas tax holiday for a $50 rebate. With higher cost of living, people are voting with their feet and they're moving out of Virginia Beach. More are moving to Chesapeake, Suffolk, North Carolina, where taxes are lower. You may tout that our real estate tax rate is lower than our surrounding cities, but our housing assessments are higher here. In other words, you get more house for your money in localities outside of Virginia Beach. Chesapeake is considering lowering their real estate taxes, 7%, and Hampton, 6%. I can't afford to pay more in taxes. If other localities can do it, why can't we? Please vote to lower the rate to 91 cents and no on the city manager's budget. And remember, you work for us. That's our money you're spending, and you're spending it pretty freely. Increase my taxes, and I vote.
The next speaker is Teresa Langwell, and then Holly Martyr.
Hi. First of all, I want to say that we are taxed enough already from the federal level, the state level, and the city level. When we go buy our groceries, when we buy gas, everything, we're taxed everywhere. I also, talking about the city, have listened to everybody all night, our cultural part of our city. The city workers, that disgusted me. It really disgusted me at what they made after so many years. They were there helping when we were flooded, just everywhere. They may not be seen and may not work a 9-to-3 job, but they are there making sure our city runs smoothly. My children went to Plaza Middle School, that was talked about here today. There are still portables sitting in back of that school after 30 to 40 years. I think it was more important to do something about that rather than put AstroTurf on 2 schools. At our last meeting, the Director of Budget and Management said we had, at last count, 800 positions not filled. So why are we adding 52 more positions to a budget when we are down 800 employees? It seems to me we should be using this opportunity to evaluate which positions are essential, concentrate on core services to fill those positions while decreasing the size and scope of government. For example, the police department, through numerous efficiencies, is reclassifying 17 positions within the police department to achieve department goals without adding positions. We could use more of that kind of thinking. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, has risen 8.5% in the last 12 months. Thanks to inflation caused by the massive spending of the federal government, supply chain issues caused by government mandates have driven taxes to an astronomical point, and they're rising. We don't see any relief in that. The largest revenue increases are expected to be those associated with general sales, restaurant, hotel, and amusements taxes with rising inflation. The cost of goods and services and the taxes associated with them rise accordingly. The city anticipates receiving an increase of 29% more in general sales tax revenue over last year's budget. Even with 25% personal property tax reduction, the city is expected to get an increase of 12% in revenues. In total, the hotel room tax revenue is increasing 45.53%. Revenue from the restaurant meal taxes is increasing 43%. Revenue from amusement tax is increasing 61%. With all the increases in revenue, we can afford to lower the real
Mayor,
estate
that's
tax.
time.
Vote no on the manager's budget and decrease spending and spend more wisely. Thank you.
The next speaker is Holly Martier, and then Henry Rito.
Hello, thank you, Mayor. And John Moss, I want to thank you for all the updates on Facebook. That's how I found out about this. I don't understand why we cannot reduce real estate taxes to a revenue neutral rate when we had surplus of $81 million for the city and $54 million in the school budget, last year's budget. And in this year's budget, we have over $86 million in reserves, an increase of $41 million. We also have over $123 million in undesignated balances. The next thing I was going to say, somebody else spoke about, that Chesapeake and Hampton are proposing to reduce their real estate taxes. I've had it with this city. They charge way too much for fees also, for the water bill. Anyway, Chesapeake and Hampton reduce their, Hampton wants to reduce it 6 cents. Its current rate is 1.24 to 1.18. The average Hampton house price is $230,000 and Chesapeake is $314,000. The median home cost in Virginia Beach is now $325,000. We can't afford to pay more in real estate taxes on top of all the taxes I'm paying to feed my family, and I'm a single mom, okay? Feed my family, keep a roof over their head, and gas to work to provide for them. Please reduce the real estate tax rate to revenue neutral rate of 91 cents and vote no on the city manager's budget. Thank you.
The next speaker is Henry Rito, and then Brad Belton.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Henry Ritta. I'm a resident of District 4. In the city manager's submitted budget, it calls for eliminating the sunset clauses in certain taxes now flowing into the tourism investment program. I come before you this evening to ask you not to do that. Let me elaborate. As we transition to district elections and a district-elected city council, it's going to change some of the ways we do governance here in Virginia Beach. One of those will be our relationship with Virginia Beach's second largest industry, tourism. A future council is going to need to sit down and look at the complete picture, and look and rethink exactly how we do tourism. To eliminate those sunset clauses at this point would be to put the proverbial cart before the horse. If they're going to sunset soon, yes, I extended sunsets out to 2024, 2025, but don't eliminate them altogether at this point. Hey, get ahead of ourselves with that conversation that needs to happen. Thank you.
The next speaker is Brad Belton. After Mr. Belton is Annie Speckhart.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brad Belton. I'm a city employee, 20 years. Homeowner, coming on 5 years. These taxes, killing us. These fees, killing us. This plane right here is a plane to nowhere, because that's what you're doing to us. You're going to send us to nowhere real fast. Give us what we need. We don't need no $45 million going down there to the oceanfront. We need our employees that step plan. Give us the benefits, the pay that we're working for. We need tax relief for my fellow citizens who pay taxes, are homeowners in this city. We can't do what y'all are trying to do when we have nothing else to give. Federal government, taxes. State government, taxes. Now y'all are taxing us. Every last one of y'all make over $100,000 a year or more because you have your own businesses plus a voted seat where you're getting a paycheck. So you got more than one income. The rest of us, we don't have that. So please, 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 give us a plane that's going somewhere. Not just going somewhere, but getting some altitude so that it can soar. Kill that budget. Give us some relief. Pay all of these city workers like myself who can barely afford to live in this city a honest pay. Because if you don't, what's the results? If the residents are leaving, and I'm a resident, what you think city employees start doing? Y'all not gonna come down from there, get in a garbage truck and do what I do. You're not gonna get on a backhoe and fix a sewer line. You're not gonna get on a lawnmower and cut the grass of the school. So please, think very carefully what you're doing. Are you doing something to help the citizens? Or are you hurting us? That budget plan hurts us. We need somewhere to go. Stop thinking about that ocean front, because we, city employees, regardless of what department we're in, police, fire department, waste management, highways, this city is not the ocean front. This city is more parts to it, just like a body. That's an arm. The rest of Virginia Beach are the other arm, the legs, the
Mayor,
head.
that's time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Annie Speckhart, and then Kurt Clark.
Good evening. Wow, I'm sitting there. Honestly, this is my first time speaking at a city council meeting. And I'm listening to this gentleman, wonderful speech, by the way, but what bothers me is I'm listening to a citizen begging you guys, saying, please, don't take my money. My money. We are taxpayers. That's disgusting. You know, Like I said, this is my first time here. I usually speak at the school board, but I've been removed proudly from the school board for a year. And the reason I've been removed is because I spoke truth. I am a taxpayer, and I went into the school board meeting, and I'm a mom also. I have a senior. He's getting ready to graduate in 2 months. Thank God, is all I have to say. But anyway, I got removed because I enlarged pornography on poster board, and I put it up to the school board, and I yelled because I'm a mom, and I'm pissed because my kid is now 18, but all these years while he was in school, he was looking at that. So I want to know why our taxes are paying for these books that are not only in our schools, but they're also in our public libraries. One of the books, I should have brought it here with me. I wasn't even going to speak tonight, honestly, because it's just a waste of time. We could do more damage at the voting booth. But anyway, thank you, John Moss, for everything you do. Thank you for letting us know everything that's going on and for fighting for us. I'm going to tell you guys, gone are the days of politicians sitting up in that seat, because I'm going to make sure in my fight, and my fight's gone pretty viral, and I'm not saying that I'm trying to be humble. It was on Fox News last night on prime time. So there's going to be lots of people like me rising up and fighting, and you guys aren't going to be sitting in those seats anymore if you don't care about the people. It made me sad, the gentleman who came up here who's a city worker making $15 an hour. I did the math. That's about, after taxes are taken out, about $1,900 a month. I'm a real estate agent. You can't even find a rental here for $1,900 a month. Unbelievable. So like I said, I'm going to be brief tonight. Gone are the days where politics get elected. It's going to be normal people like me, like all of these people that are sitting out here, because we're tired of you guys stealing our money, and we're not going to beg anymore. We're just going to vote you out. That's all. Simple as that. Have a good night.
The next speaker is Kurt Clark. After Mr. Clark is Robert Wright.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Manager. Kurt Clark, I live in SeaTac. SeaTac, historic SeaTac. I've got to readdress SeaTac. I've lived in that community since 2008. I got stationed at Oceana, retired in 2013. I've been blessed to be part of that community. I've seen repeatedly where, as a community, we've asked for support. The things that are being asked tonight in regards to SeaTac and the Rec Center requires each and every one of you, not just Councilman Guy Tower, not just the at-large members that are on this City Council. Each and every one of you should see the importance that SeaTac is part of America's history. It's written in the book in Congress as the oldest African-American community in the nation. We should have a degree of pride, each and every one of us, to do whatever we can to support this community. It's frustrating beyond the Rec Center. There are other issues, most of you know, that I've addressed before with City Council and different members, but I'm begging you, find it in your heart to support SeaTac in every aspect that is needed. The Rec Center is being addressed tonight, but please support SeaTac. Put it back on the budget. Thank you.
The next speaker is Robert Wright. Robert Wright. Robert Dean. And then, Mayor, we have two WebEx speakers after Mr. Dean. So he didn't show up.
I'm beginning now, Amanda. Please stop telling me tourism keeps my taxes low while you keep using it for entertainment venues while raising my taxes and fees year after year for core functions of government. Entertainment is not your job. We are here all year long, yet 100% of the amusement tax goes to the tip fund, while we get nothing from entertainment venues. Tickets to the Wave Pool and Dome Music Hall are not funding stormwater maintenance. For that, you need to raise my taxes. This funding formula needs to change. Stop raising taxes and fees and reprioritize spending. Vote no. We're all voting no on raising taxes and fees. It's difficult to understand why there are 10 members of this council who are supporting this outrageous Joe Biden budget with its 11+% real estate tax increase. There's but one council member who doesn't just talk about family values, but actually values families, like yours, and believes that when you are suffering economically, you should receive relief. That man is John Moss. John has found real estate tax relief for you and yours, all of us. Facing an 11.2% real estate tax increase, John said, enough is enough, and prepared a taxpayer-friendly alternative budget. Keep the rate at 91 cents per hundred. We can no longer afford you and your Bidenite tax increase. Council, if you want to continue fleecing the people, you need to buy a flock of sheep. Mayor Dyer and Mrs. Wilson and the Band of 10 have shared us so much financially, we become as bald as their tax and spend president they admire so much. There are 10 members of this city council that need to be sent to a rehab center for the insatiable addiction to raising taxes. Thank you.
Mayor, we have two speakers via WebEx. The first one is Tammy Mullins-Rice. Ms. Mullins-Rice, if you will pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, you are unmuted.
Oh, thank you. My name is Tammy Rice, and I'm sorry, I gotta shut something. My name is Tammy Rice, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. I'm the president of CTAC Community Civic League, and as you've heard, we are very passionate about our rec center and the lack of equity that we have in this rec center. You've already been told how small it is. I just want to give you a picture. At every rec center in the city, parents can sit and look through a glass and watch their children in swim class. At the CTAC Rec Center, there's a door with a small window that one parent at a time can peer through to try and get a glimpse of their child while they're swimming. So I just want to make sure you have a clear picture. Here's what we're asking for. There's a 6-year capital improvement plan from Parks and Rec, and the only rec center listed is Great Neck. We are asking that CTAC be considered in that 6-year plan. And I know I've been told that, oh yeah, we can amend that every year. Well, if that's the case, then put us in. Can you just put us in? That's what we're asking. Put us in the plan. We're tired of the lack of equity. We're tired of always having to come up with our own plan. The land that the rec center sits on was donated by people who owned land in SeaTac. The first SeaTac elementary school, the land was donated by the people who lived there. Give us a break. I'm asking you, are the people in Great Neck being asked to raise their own money for their rec center? You know, did Kempsville taxpayers have to raise additional money other than their taxes? We're homeowners, we pay taxes. We want the same pursuit of happiness as other citizens in Virginia Beach. What we're asking our city officials is to see us, see our community. Stop leaving us out, stop giving us breadcrumbs. We're in the comprehensive plan as Strategic Focus Area 9. Our community name is CTAC. Why can't we be in the comprehensive plan as CTAC instead of Strategic Focus Area number 9? Give us the respect that we're due, that you give every other community in the city. This is what we're asking. By the way, I did mention this to Elaine Luria last night when I was at her town hall meeting, and apparently there are some community partners grants that are out there. And she said she's willing to work with the city of Virginia Beach for the SeaTac Rec Center, not the Great Neck Rec Center. I just want to be clear on who we're working for. Please put us in the plan. See us. Use our name.
Very much appreciate it.
And the last speaker via WebEx is Dr. Amelia Ross Hammond. Dr. Ross Hammond, if you will pause 2 to 3 seconds before beginning, you are unmuted.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Dyer, council members, and City Manager Duhaney. I speak to you today as a resident of the city and a strong proponent that it is our culture and our humanity that make up a community. It is by supporting our culture, the arts and artists that live here, and our shared history that we come together and grow. While our neighboring city to the west has usually been seen as the center of the arts in Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach through the years has birthed its own unique entities, such as the Vibe District, MOCA, and the Virginia African American Culture Center, which, if you notice, has gained additional credibility. In order to continue to support the organizations that already exist and nurture the culture that spawns new cultural life into the city, Virginia Beach must make an investment in that growth. Investments that come from many avenues and not just the spigot of the Arts and Humanities Commission. That is the only way small organizations can mold their own identity and not be beholden to one entity or personalities. I'm so proud of the creativity that has blossomed here in the last decade and urge you to continue to support that energy with direct line item funding for our arts. We have become strong community partners of our city in coastal Virginia. The VAAC has partnered with the Vibes Creative District and the Virginia Museum of Contemporary Arts for several events, like the upcoming Juneteenth, the Season of Nonviolence event, as well as with VB Geeks, Portrait from a Place of Grace, to name a few. We are beneficial for the city arts culture. According to the Virginia Beach Cultural Affairs Economic Impact Study, Arts Group and audiences spend $87.7 million annually in Virginia Beach. The arts section supports 2,875 full-time employees jobs locally. Virginia Beach Arts Groups bring in over $3.7 million of annual revenues to the city of Virginia Beach. The city of Virginia Beach operating items lines for Vibes Creative District, Virginia Museum of Contemporary Arts, and the Virginia African American Culture Center were excluded from the current proposed City of Virginia budget. These two entities I mentioned earlier alone generate millions of dollars of earned media attention for the city of Virginia Beach each year and demonstrate significant economic impact through millions to the earned tax revenue from the private sector of the city of Virginia Beach every year. We are also year-round benefits for tourism and local residents. The arts mean business for the city of Virginia.
Amelia, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
And Mayor, we did have one additional WebEx speaker signed up. I just want to call their name to make sure they didn't show up. They're not on WebEx. It's Merrill Rutledge. Okay. That's all the speakers, sir.
Folks, want to thank you all for your input. It is valued. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.